Hello friends, today we will learn about biotechnological methods for management of pollution. At first, atmospheric carbon reduction. Second is we'll study in this video we'll study about atmospheric carbon dioxide reduction. Uh, Next, second point is sewage treatment by bacteria and algae. Third point is eutrophication and phosphorus pollution. Fourth point is management of metal pollution. Fifth point is immobilized cells in the management of pollution. These five category we will study in details in this video. Okay. So first of all, first is atmospheric carbon dioxide reduction. The lower atmosphere contains carbon dioxide at a concentration of 0.0314% by volume. There is a continuous addition of carbon dioxide, particularly coming from industrial processes. Any increase in the contained carbon dioxide has to be viewed very seriously since it is the principal gas that causes greenhouse effect and raises atmospheric temperature. It is suggested that the global temperature will increase by around 2 to 5 degrees centigrade on doubling the atmospheric concentration of carbon dioxide. The present belief is that during the post 100 to 150 years, the carbon dioxide level increased by about 25% with an increase in the atmospheric temperature by about 0.5%. Thus, carbon dioxide is closely linked with global warming. For the reasons stated, the reduction is in atmospheric carbon dioxide concentration assumes significance. There are mainly two approaches for the biotechnological reduction of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. One is photosynthesis, second is biological classification. Photosynthesis to reduce atmospheric carbon dioxide. Utilization of carbon dioxide for photosynthesis by plants is the most significant process to reduce carbon dioxide content in the atmosphere. Photosynthesis may be represented by the equation 6 carbon dioxide plus 6 H2O gives rise to, in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll, gives rise to C6H12O6 plus 6O2. Now let's know about higher plant photosynthesis. The fast growing trees are more efficient in utilizing carbon dioxide for photosynthesis. Hence, their propagation is advocated. Further micropropagation and synthetic seed production through plant tissue culture techniques are also important. The major problem is the continuous deforestation that is associated with a possible increase in temperature carbon dioxide. The conservation of forest and plantations is need of the hour. The enzyme ribulose biophosphate carboxylase RUBP is closely linked with the carbon dioxide fixation. There are some attempts to genetically manipulate this enzyme so that the photosynthetic efficiency is increased. Microalgal photosynthesis. Let's know about microalgal photosynthesis. Certain microalgae are more efficient than higher plants in utilizing atmospheric carbon dioxide for photosynthesis. Example: cholera pyrinodiosa, cholera pyrinodiosa, spirulina maxima. These organisms are capable of generating more oxygen than the amount of carbon dioxide consumed. It is advocated that growing microalgae in the vicinity of industrial and power plants where the production carbon dioxide is very high will help to minimize the polluting effects of carbon dioxide. In addition, these microalgae appropriately regarded as photobioreactors accumulate as biomass which can be utilized for the extraction of protein for use as food or feed. Genetic manipulations are in progress to develop new strains of microalgae that can tolerate high concentrations of carbon dioxide and yield larger biomass. Some success has been reported in the mutants of Anacystis nidulans and Osticis species. Let's know about biological calcification to reduce atmospheric carbon dioxide. Certain organisms present in the deep sea like corals, green and red algae are capable of storing carbon dioxide through a process of biological calcification. Let's know the reaction. H2O plus carbon dioxide gives rise to H2CO3. Next is H2CO3 plus Ca2 plus gives rise to CaCO3 plus carbon dioxide plus water. Now let's know about sewage treatment by bacteria and algae. The wastewater resulting from various human activities, agricultural and industrial technically referred to as sewage. The sewage is mostly composed of organic and inorganic compounds, toxic substances, heavy metals and pathogenic organisms. In biological treatment of sewage, the organic matter is subjected to biodegradation of bacterial oxidation. In this way, the organic matter is degraded to smaller molecules, that is carbon dioxide, NH3, PO4 like this. Biodegradation requires a constant supply of oxygen. This can be done by continuous bubbling of atmospheric oxygen through a specially designed equipment. This is an expensive process besides the involvement of manpower. A continuous supply of oxygen can be achieved by growing microalgae in the ponds where sewage treatment is being carried out, and the algae are very efficient in photosynthesis and they release oxygen into the ponds. Thus, algal bacterial symbiosis is responsible for photosynthetic oxygen and the biodegradation of sewage organic matter. This is a natural and inexpensive process. In addition to the supply of carbon dioxide, the algae used in sewage treatment can absorb certain toxic heavy metals also. This is possible due to the negative charges on the algal cell surface which can take up the positively charged metals. The algal treatment of sewage is useful in other ways. Support fish growth as the algal cells are good food for fishes. Besides supplying dissolved oxygen, the algal cells rich in protein serve as good food and feed. Certain metals that are absorbed from the sewage can be recovered. The load of pathogenic microorganisms is very much reduced. They either die or settle at the bottom of the pond. The algal species of different genera ideally suited for sewage treatment are Cholera, Euglena, Chlamydomonas, Synidesmus, Ulthrix, Thibonema. Now let's know about eutrophication and phosphorus pollution. Sewage and wastewaters from industries and agriculture are rich in organic and inorganic nutrients containing phosphorus and to a lesser extent nitrogen. These nutrients favor excessive growth of algae which results in oxygen depletion, and this phenomenon is referred to as eutrophication. Eutrophication results in the death of non-resistant organisms and foul smell. Let's know about water blooms. Certain species of algae, particularly blue-green algae, Livia microcystis, Oscillatoria anabina, that can tolerate eutrophication, grow well, and form water blooms in waste or sewage water. From the extensive formation of water blooms, one can predict that pond has accumulation of very high quantity of phosphorus. The algae are capable of absorbing phosphorus and store them as phosphates. Phosphorus is a strong promoter of algal growth and water bloom formation. Water blooms are associated with the production of certain toxins, example lipopolysaccharides, that are harmful to fishes and birds. These toxins may also cause certain diseases in humans like diarrhea, gastroenteritis, and nausea. Now let's know about control of eutrophication. There are broadly two ways of controlling algal growth resulting in eutrophication. In the chemical approach, algicides. In the chemical approach, algicides such as copper sulfate, sodium arsenate, and 2,3-dichloromethylquinone are used, but the chemical treatment is associated with the increase in sludge volume. In the biological approach, cyanophages, that is the viruses that can kill algal cells, can be used to contain eutrophication anaerobic condition. Let's know about biological removal of phosphorus. Phosphorus significantly contributes to algal growth in wastewater. Removal of phosphorus therefore can protect from eutrophication. It is possible to participate phosphorus with salts of calcium, magnesium, and aluminium. This, however, is not practicable on large scale. Chemical methods add to the sludge volume. Hence, biological methods are preferred. Biological removal of phosphorus by bacteria is carried out through an aerobic and anaerobic process. Under anaerobic conditions, certain organic compounds, example acetate, obtain their energy from polyphosphates to store as carbon reserves. In this process, free inorganic phosphorus is released. In the subsequent aerobic process, the organic carbon reserve compounds are oxidized to generate energy. A small portion of this energy is utilized for the conversion of phosphates to polyphosphates. The net effect is that phosphorus accumulates in the bacterial cell in the form of phosphates. Let's know about management of metal pollution. Environmental pollution with heavy metals, example lead, cadmium, mercury, causes several toxic manifestations in living organisms, including cancer. Bioaccumulation, biomagnification, and biomethylation are some of the characteristic features of metal pollution. As the living organisms, including man, are constantly exposed to metals, they accumulate by a process referred to as bioaccumulation. Continuous exposure and accumulation of a given metal in the organisms results in its increased concentration, a phenomenon referred to as biomagnification. Biomagnification usually occurs through food chain, and man is the ultimate victim. Biomethylation is the process of transfer of methyl groups from organic compounds to metals. This is carried out by microorganisms in the soil and water. Although it is true that some metals get detoxified by methylation, some of them may even become more toxic. That is mercury, due to mercury. Now let's know about bioscavengers of metals. Certain aquatic plants, namely phytoplanktons, phytoplankton means plants that freely float on water surface, or benthics, plants attached to some substratum at the bottom of aquatic reservoirs, and microorganisms can take up the metals from the bathing media, wastewater ponds, and act as natural bioscavengers. Besides combating the pollution effects of metals, this process is also useful for the recovery of industrially important metals from the bioscavengers. In the recent years, Environmental Protection Agency (EPAs) world over are advocating the use of aquatic plants and microorganisms as low cost bioabsorbents for the removal of toxic metals from the environmental pollution. Let's know about plants in metal pollution management. Water hyacinth. This is the most common weed found in tropical waters, and its control is a major problem. This plant can absorb and accumulate cadmium, mercury, lead, and even silver to the significant extent. Water lettuce. This is a floating aquatic weed and is also a good metal bioscavenger. It can take up large quantities of lead, cadmium, mercury, and arsenic. Cattails. Let's know about cattails. These plants possess long erect leaves and grow in marshy areas. Cattail leaves have been shown to be useful for the absorption of nickel, copper. Besides calcium and magnesium salts, water spinach that accumulates lead and cadmium is eaten in some areas by poor people. The toxic metals are certainly toxic to humans. Now let's know about ferns. The fern, namely Azolla Phyllikoides, accumulates cadmium, copper, uranium. Salvinia species can absorb several metals including lead, nickel, and chromium. Now let's know about microorganisms in metal pollution management. First is algae. Several metals from the fresh water can be absorbed by algal blooms. For instance, cholera vulgaris can take up copper, mercury, and uranium. The marine microalgae are also useful for the abatement of metal pollution pollutants. Now let's know about fungi. Certain fungal species are good absorbers of heavy metals, lead and Hg. Example: Rhizopus, Aspergillus, Penicillium, Neurospora. Now let's know about bacteria. A few bacterial species can accumulate metals on their cell walls. For instance, E. coli can take up mercury, while Bacillus circulans can accumulate copper. Attempts are being made to improve the strains of bacteria for more efficient uptake and accumulation of toxic metals. Further, such species will also be useful for the recovery of metals from the bacterial biomass. Let's know about mechanisms of metal scavengers. The aquatic plants and organisms may take up the metal pollutants through absorption or adsorption. The mechanism of accumulation of metals by the bioscavengers is very complex and may involve one or more of some process. Let's know about these processes. First process is binding of metals to cell walls. A bioaccumulation of metals on the cell wall is commonly observed in lower plants, algae, fungi, and bacteria. Even some higher plants can concentrate metals on the cell walls. There is some evidence to show that metals are held to certain organic biopolymers on the cell wall till binding sites get saturated. Let's know about accumulation of metals in cellular compartments. Plants are capable of transporting metals to intracellular and intracellular free surfaces and the cellular organelles like lysosomes, vacuoles. Certain metals occur as immobilized metal containing crystals. For instance, heavy metal complexes of calcium oxalate crystals have been detected in algae. Let's know about synthesis of metal binding proteins. Several algae and certain fungal species are known to synthesize metal binding proteins or peptides. Photogelatin is a ubiquitous protein present in all the plants. It is a metal chelating protein and is regarded as a common buffering molecule for the homeostasis of metals. Photogelatin is rich in cysteine and can form salt metal complexes through sulfide sulfhydryl, that means SH groups. It is comparable in its functions to metallothionein found in animals. Certain metals are known to induce the synthesis of photogelatin. Some workers in recent years have suggested photogelatin can be used as a biomarker for metal pollution detection. Now let's know about immobilized cells in the management of pollution. The use of immobilized cells, particularly microbial whole cells, for the abatement of environmental pollution is a recent development. In general aspects of cell immobilization techniques involved are the immobilized cells are useful for the wastewater management and for the recovery of metals from industrial effluents. For more efficient management of a group of environmental pollutants, simultaneously immobilized systems with more than one type of microorganisms are reduced. In the past, genetically engineered microorganisms GEMs are being developed for the treatment of polluted water and soil. Finished. Thank you.